Three entrepreneurs, one podcast, zero chance we agree on everything. This is the Ron Table, where the business gets real, life gets messy. Yes, drop in, opinions fly, and yes, moving quotes are basically a second language. Business, life, occasional dumpster climbers. Pull up your seat and let's get into it. Hello again, and welcome back to the Ron Table. We got the table ready. It's time to pull up your seat. And no, you don't need to post about it on 6 different platforms. I'm Ron Miller. I am joined by the Pioneerhouse duo of Nicole Gray and Lainey Bell Castro. And today we're tackling one of the most exhausting trends, I think, in modern business today. That is trying to keep up with people who are probably broke and bluffing, right? So you're seeing that. They're posting 14 times a day and launching 6 services. Listen, Chad, we see you. You're not in Goldman Sachs. We know you're in a WeWork, okay? So we're throwing it back to the 80s because while everybody wants to rule the world, some of us just want to run a damn business that pays the bill and doesn't ruin ours. So if you're ready to stop playing comparison game and actually enjoy running your everybody just stay tuned and
Ron, I'm all turned for Fears reference. So
you like that? You like that?
Yeah.
Look, you can't go on one of the greatest songs ever written. I'm sorry. It's one of my favorite songs. It's in my top favorites.
And they are really good live. I just saw them like a few years ago, and they are really good live.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, last summer there was an 80s concert by me, and we went to it. And I'll tell you who was really good. Wang Chung.
Really?
I'm going to tell you, they were all over the stage. They sounded like they were. I forgot that they had more than everybody Wang Chung tonight. Like, they had more songs. I'm like, this guy shit ass. I can't believe I never went to see them.
Oh.
Really good today. Really good.
Okay. Well, a few years ago, I saw Rick Springfield and Pat Benatar.
That's a good combo. Pat
Wow.
Benatar is always good
Yeah.
in concert.
You can't go wrong with Loves the Battlefield and Jesse's Girl.
Yeah.
So we're not.
You're really good. So.
Do you know that Jesse's Girl today is like 71?
Tired?
Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I guess it depends. Maybe she's retired. Maybe she's still on the who knows, right? Like, I know she's still alive because by the stat I saw this morning, average age, amazing fact, and the gap is widening. Saw that this morning as a factor on the news. So, what? Let's transition away from that. Let's get back to business. And I'm going to quote one of my favorite artists of all time, and that is my man, because what you see on your screen, don't believe the hype. That's what I gotta say. I love Flavor Flav. Wow, I've always loved Flavor Flav. But honestly, I know that I did this, and Adrian, when she edits this, and I almost wish I would have saw she would have been. Julie, let me tell you about what Ron did. When I started, because you're trying to build an audience, right? And you're trying to build credibility, and you're trying to find that natural rhythm of authenticity and marketing and something that's thought-provoking. And the reality is people out there know how to manipulate the algorithm, right? There's the engagement pods. And I used to get frustrated with it. I thought I had good content, and we get 10 likes and no shares, but someone who would post people don't like to be micromanaged, that no one ever, and it's got 4,000 likes, 800 reposts, and I'm like, it's blowing my mind. I felt like I needed to keep up with that, otherwise I was never going to get the exposure.
It's the comparison trap.
Yeah.
Right. So we look at everybody's highlight reel.
Yep.
But it's fake.
Yeah.
You can't compare your life to somebody else's highlight reel because that's all it is a highlight reel of their life. It's like when people see happy couples online, they say goals. It's no goals.
And bullshit.
How do people keep loving each other? It's just like entrepreneurs when you see the 6-figure house and everybody's talking about how great it is and I make $300,000 in 1 week. You're lying.
Yeah.
No, you don't. They're selling a bunch of baloney. It's again, you're falling into a trap. That's why you have to literally stay in your lane. I compare it to, you guys never know you're driving, like I'm in Atlanta, traffic, and you always have that one car that jumps in and out. And they're always all over. and you still meet them at either the light or the stop sign. You're looking at them, you're like, what the? Right. And you just stayed in your lane, you were going to end up there anyway. You jump it all over and he didn't go anywhere. That's what it's like when you're watching these entrepreneurs on social media or even, and it's kind of like, oh, I have all this great stuff happening. Good for you. But I'm going to stay at my own pace. Yeah. Thank you. Those people are the person that we hate in every 80s and 90s sitcom. They're in think of every sitcom we loved growing up. And there was always that one that you couldn't stand. That's who that entrepreneur is. Yeah. Yeah. Karate Kid. Hello.
Wait, hold on. Was Johnny really the villain? I don't really think Johnny was the villain. When you step back in that movie, Nicole, I have to argue. This guy comes in from out of town, starts trying to mac on someone else's girlfriend, then gets lippy about it.
Really macking? I mean, come on.
Oh, no. See,
Ron's about to prove us wrong.
I have believed in Johnny since day one. I am not a fan of Daniel LaRusso. I thought he was in the wrong. And you cannot win the All Valley Karate Tournament.
We will not take Ralph Macchio. Just bad things. Anything Ralph Macchio touches, he's the good guy. Hello, The Outsiders, Karate Kid, you name it. He's a good guy. So, and he still looks 12. So come on, he's doing something right.
All right, we'll agree to disagree on that one, but we can agree. Like, you see these people, and right leading to your point, you see them post like, I got 700,000 in billing on 7 calls. I feel like Inigo Montoya at that point. I'm like, I don't think that means what you think. It's a fight of age.
Yeah.
I don't think we got to that way.
Too, right? Yeah. So I applaud those people who are doing really well, whatever business they've started. But what they don't tell you, it's like a bad cooking show. It's that morning cooking show where they put everything in the bowl and then in 2 seconds, look at the cake I made. You did not make that cake in 2 seconds. Just like you did not make 6 figures in 96 days. It was years of struggle, burnout. You probably had to do a few of them steps. You know what I'm saying? Because of the toll it was taken. They don't tell you all that. They just gotta look what I did. I mean, I'll hear people today talk about Tony Robbins, because kind of in the same industry with coaching or whatever. And people be like, oh, Nicole, look at Tony Robbins. Look, that man has been doing his shit for 40 years. I'm not going to just all of a sudden after 1 year be Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, at this point, I'm trying to be Baskin Robbins. You know what I mean?
Best friend.
Listen, for those of the shop, right? Well, you're trying to be Baskin Robbins. I'm just trying to be bowling bass.
Like the music.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's a golf clap.
Yeah. It's the smoke and mirrors. I was thinking the other day, was with preparing for this episode. Can you imagine if Bill Gates would have had social media when he was starting Microsoft? We would have hated nuts. And I know some people do, whatever. But it would have just drove you nuts every 5 seconds, him telling you about the latest and greatest of Microsoft, what's going on, and then do that. I mean, I think it was more or less, it was kind of like Facebook and that era that was, really touching on social media. But, pre that, it was kind of like you said, we knew people started in a garage and then boom, they were billionaires. That was kind of like the story. But we also knew it was a lot of work. It was a lot of trial and error. And you respected that. Now people start a business and every 5 seconds they have to tell you what they're doing. They're just kind of like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's hard. Or they start a business on Monday and then by Friday they're a multimillionaire. And you're like, well, I don't think so, Chad. I don't think that's how it works. Well, because I use Chad. Chad is my guy in corporate America who drives me batshit crazy. So I think somewhere along the line, Ron's like, yeah, we're going to use Chad.
Now. Oh my God. But it's true. And I think when you're putting together content, right? You almost some people, how do I say this? Maybe they are making that money because they want to be more of a social influencer than they do a business person, right? Because there's money in that, right? You got like 12-year-old kids that are making 7 figures because
Yeah.
they're super popular and people follow them. That's how we connect, which I still say from a business standpoint, I think it muddies the water of progress because there's your content drawing customers because connections, conversation, and if you want to be a legitimate business, I mean, does that mean that, I got to take off my shirt and do a cold plunge into the polar ice cap and be like, that guy's crazy. I like him.
Yeah.
Oh, where's that balance? And I don't want to be a social media influencer.
Ron, you're onto something because I think about, I possibly could have started earlier or maybe wanted to have started earlier as far as exploring entrepreneurship. But when you look at social media, it's either two things. You're either highly successful or you fail to the point you're living in your car. You know what I mean? Like there's no in between.
Yeah.
And that's where social media does not do a good job because there are obviously some benefits. We come together to share real talk, our experiences. We don't want anybody to fall for the BS. But yeah, there's some great benefits. And if you do it right, like our own success story, Lainey, who's been in business for years, you can learn a lot. And we learn from her. But it's that other bullshit that unfortunately people have to go through and see on social media. But it's because it's not a get rich quick scheme. And that's the whole point of us coming together. It's not going to, as soon as you get your LLC, you're not going to all of a sudden be rich in like 2 weeks. You got to put in the work. And that's the part where it freaks people out because either you're successful or you're a failure, but they don't understand that's just life, period. It has nothing to do with being an entrepreneur. That's just life. Yes. Right. Hello. Yeah. Lady, I'm curious, when did you, and I don't know how many you had, but I know for me, over this past year, once I started worrying about my follower count, because I got caught up in that trap too, right? It's like the number of followers, but then I would meet people who were extremely successful and they would have just as many followers as I did. But you fall in that trap of thinking, or the more followers I have, the more successful I am. But at the end of the day, unless I can get those followers to be paid clients, doesn't matter. I could give you 700 clients by Friday. And I love that attitude because that's mine too. I feel like, if you build it, they will come sort of way. And the right people, like your people will find you. And I think that is hard because at the beginning, we kind of had this conversation before. I want to help everybody. You're never going to help everybody. You want to help the right people. And those people will find you. Now, it'll take time. And like you said, sure, you can put stuff in and you can get 500 followers in probably 2 days. But half those people are either going to be bots or trying to sell you something. And you're going to want to unfollow them anyway. So just keep doing the work. And, you just keep building the house to where eventually you're going to be like, wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. Yeah, like Ron and I were both at an I Love the 80s conference and somehow we connected. I'm just kidding. No, but just kidding. But no, but it was another networking thing and it just clicked. I mean, that's why, those are the pros, and we'll have to touch on this in another episode, but those are the pros of networking. I mean, there's pros and cons, but when you can meet good people and, you can find a way to work together, those are the people you want to stick with. So, yeah.
On the other side of that, though, let's talk a little bit about something that is super real with this, though. And Lee, I want to go back to kind of your LinkedIn because, yes, you and I did make a great connection through a mutual friend through LinkedIn. Again, somebody that I met in the same group as I had met Nicole, who made that introduction, right? And I am so glad that happened, but that happens less and less and less. And personally, I think, like, for me, and part of this is like where I reside. I'm in a very rural area. There's not a lot of opportunity around me, and I'm not close enough to a metropolitan area that I can go and network and do other things, or get involved in organizations. It's like a day commitment to do it. And if it doesn't pan out, you're shooting a day or two. So a lot of what I'm trying to do because of where I am comes through where do I find those decision makers? And the referrals are less and less. Because I think personally, LinkedIn has become more like Facebook than it is like LinkedIn anymore. Like, listen, if I had money, I would be investing in, and I would be building Linked Out, right? Getting back to business. But for honest to God, like, you're under constant pressure on LinkedIn to understand the ever-changing algorithm and some content that's a specific thing. And you got to keep up with other business owners because it's social. It's BS. Weight of that constant comparison and keeping up and trying to figure out, it stalls progress. And for those of us that are not in those metro areas where you have a little bit more in organizations you can go and get involved with, and you can do some more in person. I still believe business sometimes still is done with in person, the handshake, you like and trust, and introduction, right?
Yeah, and it's so funny because people call that old school, but I think we can all agree that algorithm is the devil.
Yeah.
And what pisses me off about it is that, however way it changes, whatever, people feel like that is like the Bible. Like, because, Instagram changes theirs and whatever. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree, because we did not grow up on algorithms, and we got shit done and it worked. And guess what? I don't care that next week on the algorithm, if I had pink hair and I pierced my nose and I post, things could possibly be better for my business. Whatever. At the end of the day, my algorithm is, I got to do me. And if you like me, that's great. And if you don't, that is great. As my grandmother would say, if you like it, I love it. But I can't base my business solely on the algorithm. Yeah. Yeah. And I get that's still 1998, but that shit still works. Yeah. Yeah. So someone just wrote a book. She's the wife of like a famous CEO for back in the day. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to give her any more to it. But she really pissed me off recently because she, in her book, and she's stating like networking is dead and I hate networking and you shouldn't networking. And I'm sorry. At the end of the day, depending on how you do it, especially if you're very intentional by it and you do it right, you can get a lot of shit done with networking. To say that it's dead and you shouldn't do it, I think it messes up a lot of people, because I get networking gets a bad rep. But it's kind of like what you were saying, Ron, at the end of the day, sometimes in real life, like I feel like in person is vogue again. Especially after the pandemic, all of a sudden people are like, ooh, let's meet. It's like, in person? What? Yeah, let's do it. You have nothing to lose, Yes. I will. I'll tell you after the show, because again, I don't want her book to sell here. Yeah. And guess what? As Gen Xers, that's all we had back in the day. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had our big ass phone book and networking. That's all we are. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, I think we're gonna have to touch on that soon, the pros and cons, because there's actually a lot more pros than cons. I think networking gets a bad rep.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of good things you could do. Networking to me is like now that's another character in those 80s and 90s. It's the feel good character that rises up. There you go. There you go. Yeah, you are. Yeah, networking is Kelly on Saved by the Bell.
Slater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But no, I think kind of, to that point, like networking, I can emphasize enough the importance of it, whether you're a job seeker looking for work in this crazy, insane market today, right? It's that networking there to find the job, and to networking as business owners, whether you have a business that's worth $100 million, you're like us, that, Nicole and I were starting out, and I'm not going to share what I netted last year. I'm not going to ask anyone else to, but some of us are further along. Some of us are still going and growing, but no matter the size, that one connection can make a huge difference in that networking and that introduction. I will never turn anyone down in making an introduction.
Yeah, and Ron, thank you for that. I'm not going to share my net worth, but I am sitting with my gold desk.
Look,
Just
listen. How much like Lars on, from that South Park episode? Like, I could only afford a gold-plated shark bar for my Gulfstream 3, and I can't get the Gulfstream 4 with the remote control. So
I think we can all agree keeping up with the Joneses sucks,
Yeah.
but keeping up with us is great. See what I did there?
I love that. I love
So
that.
with that, it is time for WTF for the win. I will kick it off. Mother's Day. Did you guys know there was actually 2 of the worst gifts you can give mothers that made the top 2 list recently?
Coupon book.
Number 2, how to cook book. Cookbooks.
Oh
Why
my
would you
Lord.
Culture cookbook. In the first one, and I was like, if I got this, somebody be visiting divorce court. Weight loss product.
Oh,
Yes. Please do not give your mother, grandmother, aunt, sister, woman in your neighborhood weight loss products. Please don't do that. So, yeah. So that was my WTF. Thankfully, I've never gotten any of that because, again, we probably go viral. But, yeah, those are 2 bad gifts. So mine for the win, and it kind of, I saw this and I was like, ooh, I got to share this with Lainey and Ron. So as you all know, Mission Impossible is coming out soon, which I cannot wait. I'm a big fan of the Mission Impossible franchise. Recently, Tom Cruise was on top of a building, just standing there. We don't know how he got there. We don't know how he's just standing there, but it was advertising for the movie. People were just kind of walking around. They looked at, and you got to see it online. It's pretty cool. And he's just being Tom Cruise on top of a building. And I was like, shit, I could try that. That's good. But I thought that was really cool marketing for the next Mission Impossible movie. I know. Can you imagine walking, Lainey, you and I just in Atlanta, and we burnt out Tom Cruise just standing on a building. Well, we'd have the FaceTime Ron, Ron, this shit, Tom Cruise,
really even make it funnier is that when you did that, I was the actual one standing on top of the building.
I want that. It's just Ron.
Me. Listen, I've been known from about 7,000 feet to resemble Tom Cruise. So, not getting closer, not at 6,000 feet, but at 7,000.
Oh, okay. Well, then on that note, Ron Cruise, start us off.
All right. All right, so I'm going to start with my WTF, and both mine are sports related, right? So my WTF right now is Shedeur Sanders. And I got to hear one more thing about Shedeur Sanders. I swear I'm going to pull my eyeballs out, right? Sorry you slid. You slid what you slid. Young man, you will have time to prove yourself. Everybody else, including Mel Kiper and RG3, it's time to move on. And hey, if you want to spend your time talking about somebody that maybe you're not talking about, how about a young Mr. Cam Ward or one Mr. Travis Hunter, the first and second pick of the drafts? I ain't hearing any news out of mini camps on them.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Ron, because that's where, and I've never been that person, but I'm going to blame the media for that.
Yep.
Because it's not Shedeur's fault. Like, he's just trying to do his thing, but these people will not let that shit go. It's almost kind of like the Caitlin Clark. It was like, let it go. We get it. Let's keep it moving. I mean, it's really sad because, he has a press conference and it's like 9,000 people around him. And then you have Travis Hunter and it's like crickets.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a fan of his. I like what he did, but give the boy a break. At the end of the day, I think people forget too that these are young folks.
Yep.
Like, just give him a break, let him do what he has to do, and just keep it moving. But they just want to keep that in the news, and it's not him or his dad; it's the media.
Yep.
Yeah.
His dad's not mouthing off, and I'll get give credit to this kid through all this. He's not mouthing off either. He's just like, I'm going to prove it. I'm going to show you what I'm capable of, and either he's going to stick it to somebody, and someone's going to be real happy, or he's going to move into obscurity. But I love that talked about Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. Like, the kid was picked first in the draft. Like, WTF, guys. Like, I am not a professional sportscaster, but man, I'd like to hear how Travis Hunter is doing out there in Tennessee. Our Cam Ward. What did mini camp look like? He was the number 1 pick.
And Cam Ward was the guy, by the way, no colleges picked him originally. So he has a wonderful backstory.
Yep. Absolutely. Best quarterback in this draft. I'm telling you right now, by far.
Yep.
Mike, for the win, again, sports related. So we have a little local baseball team here. I'm going to give a shout out called the Sussex County Miners. They play an independent league. We got this cool little stadium. It seats, maybe 3,000 people. It's a great place. It's down the street from my house. You go on a Saturday night in spring and the summer, you get a $2 beer or a $5 burger. There's fireworks at the end. There's some great baseball. So I absolutely love them. They started the season 3-1. Best start since their championship run a few years ago. So I'm excited for Sussex County Miner baseball. So I hope it's a good one.
That is awesome. And me and Lainey are convinced that you live in Mayberry, but we'll talk about that.
I'm just
Yeah. I have a feeling when you walk down the street, we hear whistling. I'm just saying. All right, Lainey, you're up.
Ooh.
Yeah. Don't you forget about me. Come on now. Yes. Yeah. When I have to get a student loan to think about going to see an artist that I like, I'm like, you know what? I'll just stay home and I'm sorry, I can't. It's nuts because why is when you do get a ticket, there's 90,000 fees. I mean, the ticket itself, you're like, oh, here's a ticket for $118, but by the time you pay the fees, it's $9,000.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the oops and daisy fee. We forgot this last one. Yeah. Let me tell you, this is the way you go to see a concert. You just watch that shit on Instagram because everybody got their phone on and they basically recorded it and they're showing clips. Let me tell you, I have seen the Beyonce Renaissance tour 9 million times. I have loved it and didn't spend any money. Thank you to all my friends who went to go see her because that's the only way I lived through them. Thank you. Yeah. You can. No. Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you. So.
Oh, man. Concert ticket, expensive. Same as it ever was.
That was nice, Ron.
Several talking heads there.
On everything. I like it.
All right. Well, before we burn down the house, let's close this out, right? Let's sign this up. Look, bro, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you take anything out of it, listen, this is your permission slip to unsubscribe from the book, right? You don't need to be louder, flashier, or more trendy. You just need to be honest and strategic. Right? This isn't Clueless, where you're trying to solve the physical beach paths. Okay? You just need to be you. Success is performance art. It's consistency. It's sleeping like a baby because for me, it's selling my soul for right. It took me a little while to get there, but I follow the fake, trust your gut, keep your eyes on your own damn paper and product. So until next time, able to still be here, pull up a chair when you're ready to be real. Bye, everyone. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of The Ron Table. Thanks for pulling up your chair, lending us your ear, and not touching our drums. Interested in more chaos and common sense and conversations? Well, make sure that you hit that like button or the follow button. Or drop us a question or a comment in the comment section below. If you want to follow us on social media, you can check out more under the resources tab at www.elevate-talent-solutions.com. Or you can visit Nicole Gray at renewedimpact.com. Hit up Lainey Del Castro at lmbdigimarketing.com. And a big shout out to our producer and co-host, Adrian Roughheart at acrventures.com. Until next time, keep that chair warm, if not done yet.